time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Constance.
Good morning, Charles. You look okay this morning.
I feel a lot better.
Anyway, Yolanda, how are you? Good morning,
Dr. Constance. I'm good. It's wonderful to see you.
I hope you had a good weekend.
I did, a restful one with these rains.
Oh, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. I also had a good weekend.
I'm glad.
And it's refreshing.
Absolutely.
And, to look at the papers with us today, we have Dr. Ibrahim Modibo. He is a media executive and analyst. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with This Day. In This Day, our girls have done it again, or women rather, just after that stunning Super Falcons WAFCON victory in Morocco last week. The Tigers seem to be cementing their place as the queens of basketball in Africa. The President, Bola Tinubu, and First Lady Oluremi are rejoicing with them for emerging fifth consecutive time Afrobasket winner. The President is awaiting their return with the trophy to Abuja, and their coach, Rena Wakama, has been hailed for her consistent, exemplary leadership. I mean, remarkable, an unbeaten record in Africa 2017, 2019, 2021, 2023, and 2025. These girls are on fire. Dr. Modibo, in the midst of all our problems, this is refreshing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Constance. Good morning, Yolanda. Good morning, my brother Charles.
Good morning, Dr. Modibo.
Well, in the course of our journey to nationhood, we have our trials, travels, and equally we have our triumphs. And part of this formative structure of nationhood, here we're having, women making us very proud. As a nation, we've been having a lot of challenges. But these challenges seems to have been, cushioned by the triumphs of our ladies. In fact, they have been making the country very proud. Look at the issue of football where they came and got gold 10 times now, champions of Africa. And, with attendant cash gifts of over 150 million, a 3-bedroom flat, national honors. I just hope that there will be continuity of this wonderful, this spirit of giving from the president, so that the Tigress too should also be considered for this mouth-watering, this largesse. Because I've seen a lot of people complaining that, look, these things are just too much. But to me, the women have done us proud. Where the men have failed, the women are moving forward and they've been doing very well. So I'm very excited about what I've seen, and I just hope and pray that they continue, and also we wish the women the best of luck. Most likely in 2027 we might have a female president.
Okay, let's see it. I think it's a bit far away. You are overreaching, but
I hope you did say amen.
Day.
You did say amen.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
I don't see that in the horizon soonest, but it might happen one day.
Just believe.
Okay. Let's look at another story in This Day. Despite applause, ADC says 702 billion naira Lagos Airport project wasteful. We also have that story published in Daily Independent, if we can pull that up. Keyamo justifies 702 billion naira Lagos Airport renovation. It's wasteful, reckless, says ADC, and in leadership as well. The minister tells us that the renovation will be funded without loans. The African Democratic Congress sees this as misplaced priority, while Keyamo explains the need to replace decaying infrastructure, expand capacity, and modernize the country's busiest airport. Competing arguments on this matter. Comparison is drawn between the humongous amount for the airport and budgets of some regions. And it is a huge sum of money. At the same time, it is viewed as necessary to fix what is broken. Dr. Modibo.
Yes, if you look at critical thinkers or stakeholders have been critical of the whooping sum of 712 billion for renovation of the Murtala Mohammed Airport 1. for very obvious reasons. If you look at the recent renovation of even the International Conference Center, now named Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center, attracted a lot of criticism for mere fact that, look, that 39 billion could have built another one. And now they are saying that with this 712 billion naira, it could have built another new airport entirely, with every facility, every structure. There are some parallels that have been made with other countries where we see the amount of money spent on building of airports, renovations, and what have you. I honestly think that as a nation undergoing surgery, as at this point in time, in terms of security, in terms of education, in terms of putting the food on the tables of the common man, and in terms of the aggregate well-being of Nigerians, I think that this thing goes on to show the display of jamboree of economic, I don't know whether to say it is economic downturn, so to say, because Nigeria needs education now. That money could have built more universities, attracted more salaries for teachers, especially professors who receive less than 500,000. A whole professor that will be for 20 years, he can have 500,000. And then look at the issue of insecurity everywhere. Look at the issue of poverty.
All right.
So I think, but I am happy that Kiamo has defended that, tried to defend it, so to say. He said it will be completely demolished, built from the scratch, and also there will be perimeter fencing, there will be all other facilities that will be able to rhyme with modern standard of airports that will attract global standard.
Right. I mean, there is the argument that it is not an either or. However, there's also suggestions that federal government contracts or even state government contracts are usually too pricey or overpriced and loaded with all sorts of things that shouldn't be there. So maybe that's something that should be looked into instead. The Punch newspaper, 2027, Obi's one-term presidency gambit sparks political firestorm. The All Progressives Congress, a faction of Labour Party led by Julius Abure and Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Soludo, have all criticized Obi for this one-term idea, which he says is sacrosanct. In fact, Soludo was salty in his comments, and I quote him, "How can anybody with a functioning brain say that? Do you think you're speaking to fools? You come to people and you say you will do only one term. Any politician who says that must be sent to a psychiatric home because the person must have a mental problem," end of quote. While not everybody believes Mr. Obi's one-term claim, Soludo's language has been questioned as rather demeaning and completely uncalled for, Charles.
Come to think of it, those words by Soludo are very strong and I think very unbecoming of a public official, especially a state governor, and then you are referring to someone who is supposed to be your political associate in one way or the other. It's not very complimentary. But having said that, the idea of a one-term presidency has actually been touted before. If I remember correctly, President Muhammadu Buhari did drop the hint that he would be content with doing one term and he just needed 4 years to do whatever he wanted to do. Be that as it may, who will stop a president, Peter Obi, from running for a second term if he changes his mind and decides to run for a second term? I guess that's where the criticism is coming from. I mean, some people may be saying that he probably is not being sincere in the effort and is just probably using that as a gambit to attract the good graces of his political opponents within his own fold. Maybe, just maybe, that would probably attract the northern element to give him the ticket. And
but you know why he talks about one term? Because, you know, in terms of the unwritten agreement within, you know, the South and the North, that power needs to return to the North in 2031, and that's why.
What happened with the PDP? That unwritten agreement was thrown overboard in 2023.
Well, President Yaradua died, so that was a totally
in
different.
2023, remember.
You know. ball game. Anyway, Abuja Inquirer, radio station closure, outrage grows against Niger governor and in the Nation as well. No, we don't have it in the Nation, rather in New Telegraph. Trump's tariffs, Nigeria, others get AU's nod to sanction U.S. businesses. That station closure in Niger State by Governor Bago is, completely illegal. Only the National Broadcasting Commission has the power to suspend the license of any station. No matter the infractions allegedly by the station, there are laid down procedures to do with such matters. Governor Bago has acted like a dictator, many people think, and operating above the law. And then to Trump and his tariffs against African countries, this report tells us that following deliberate smear campaign and sidelining of African nations in U.S. trade negotiations, the African Union may have given others or not to Nigeria and South Africa and other countries within the continent to apply punitive measures against the U.S. as well. To jumpstart this, South Africa has officially suspended all American businesses within its territory and has stopped exporting minerals to the U.S. We know that they've been slammed with a 30% tariff. The SA government also made it clear to the U.S. that it is nothing without African minerals, and if he thinks Africans are beggars, then he should look for minerals elsewhere, as Africans are tired of blatant disrespect. Well, it seems South Africa is leading the way to show that African nations can bite to. Yolanda, do you want to comment on these two stories?
Yes. Well, first of all, I would like to show my absolute pleasure for what South Africa is trying to communicate, because this is the truth. Most of the world's resources are on the African continent, and it's very unfair for some nations, even if you're considered to be the leaders of the world, to come and take charge and do as you wish and make rules that, are not fair for the other countries affected. Second of all, on the Niger governor, on the censorship issue, I believe, there's freedom of press. This is totally a legal issue. This is not allowed. Just as you've rightly said, Dr. Constance, if it wasn't said by the NBC, then it cannot hold. There's a lot of things like freedom of press that comes into play when there are issues such as this. Also, I think what people are not realizing is that there's a public response to these sorts of issues. The more that you try to curtail and silence certain areas or certain people, the more it is brought to light.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Modibo, any thoughts on these two stories as well?
Yes, I think it is taking us back to jackboot democracy, where we see the military coming back in civilian dress. I am so annoyed with this arbitrariness, and I think this is an enabler of impunity, because any governor, you don't have the right to gag the press. The press must have its freedom. The press must be given the latitude to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Although with responsibility, the press also needs to be responsible.
Exactly, but it is not the duty of the governor to shut down the radio station.
Right.
We have the NBC. What is the NBC doing? Report to the NBC, and the NBC will take charge of it. We're all media practitioners, and we've gone through media laws and what have you. If you are defamed, go to court. That is where you have solace. But for you to come and just, let me go to South Africa. I'm so happy that South Africa has led the way. Africa has come of age based on General Murtala Mohammed's philosophical thinking. May God bless his soul. We cannot be dictated upon by a policeman of the world that is called America. America seems to be looking at itself on the mirror. That seems to give it a very wrong impression of its own face. And to me, it is high time that African nations and whatever should stand up to America and tell America that, look, these bullish and highly forceful resolutions that are taken against us will not accept it. And therefore, we should look at them in the face and tell them the truth. Enough is enough.
All right. Vanguard newspaper this morning, we have silent killer soaring drug costs, ignorance fueling hypertension deaths, and Ojulari's alleged exit, presidency, NNPL silence heightens confusion. Remember that there were reports over the weekend of NNPCL boss's resignation. The presidency is mute on this report, and the NNPCL as well has refused to clear the air, according to this report. We also have that story featured in Daily Trust, uncertainty over Bayo Ojulari's job as NNPCL's boss. And then rumpus over the Lagos airport renovation contract. We've seen that already. The Guardian newspaper, let's see what we have in the Guardian. Slow digital integration, rivalry NSW's odd ahead of Q1 takeoff. PDP leader split on Jonathan Obi for 2027 presidential candidacy. You know, we know that the PDP has been talking to Obi to see whether he can, return to the party. Professor Jerry Ghana was here in Arise last week talking about that. Anglicans kick as England elects lesbian Van as Archbishop. Okay, that's a new one. Let's move on to the international headlines this morning. The Citizen, tariffs not about BEE. Deadline 30% hike in U.S. cost of SA exports scheduled to begin this week, says minister. So this minister says that the tariff is not about black economic empowerment, and that more than 90 countries have been slammed, by Trump with tariffs. While some South Africans think otherwise, especially as the U.S. is making demands on domestic affirmative action policies, which has complicated efforts for South Africa to secure a trade deal. I mean, Yolanda, essentially the U.S. is trying to interfere in South Africa domestic affairs to arm twist it into changing its laws, while Japan and Europe, for instance, have succeeded in making some deals. It's tough for South Africa, and that's what's going on.
For sure. This is not the first time that we're seeing a report that looks like this concerning the U.S. and interfering with what is happening in South Africa on the economic side. When Cyril Ramaphosa visited the U.S., I don't think all his objectives were met in what he wanted to say to President Donald Trump. And it was quickly taken away with, other stories that had nothing to do with the tariffs or the economic challenges that South Africa was facing. And I think with that, there's also some truth in what is said in these headlines about, a lot of countries are facing these tariffs. But like we spoke as well earlier, as I'm trying to link the two stories, I like the fight back and the way that Africans, especially South Africa, is really speaking up about the issues that are affecting them. And we hope to see how, things kind of unfold with time, how the economic agenda just begins to unfold. The analysis, there's so many parts to look at for this story.
Definitely. We're hearing more. The Daily Telegraph, trusts Bednock not telling truth about Conservatives' failures. The former Prime Minister accused Tory leader Kemi Bednock of repeating spurious claims, and that the party will be in serious trouble unless it starts admitting its failures over the economy and human rights during the last government. While Bednock claims Prime Minister Keir Starmer is making bigger mistakes. Trust says Bednock is diverting attention from real failures of 14 years of the Conservative Party, the fatal mistakes they made and how it wrecked the British economy. While it seems Kemi has been unable to inspire confidence in the Conservative Party, also with her frequent jabs at Nigeria, her country of origin, some would rather she focuses squarely on her job in the United Kingdom rather than speaking about Nigeria all the time. Dr. Modibo, do you want to jump in on that?
Yes, I am very interested, even with the Nigerian story, Dr. Constance, on this Ajulari's case. I read severally where he said he has resigned peacefully based on his own convictions. I also read where he has been untwisted to resign. So I don't know where we are. And the government is also coming out this morning or yesterday to say that he has not resigned. Whatever it is, let the government give us light on this. Now, look at the issue of Bednock. Some people think that
Kemi Bednock.
Oh, Bednock or Bednock.
Bednock. Okay, you can say bad enough.
So, she's a serious disaster to Nigeria. If you look at the way she has been bad-mouthing this country, I think it's very, very unpatriotic. Unlike unbecoming of a Nigerian or a black woman. that is there as a representative, also a daughter of this country. Because daughters are always very sympathetic. They are kind-hearted. They are people with conviction, people that think before they talk. And unfortunately, Kemi Badnoch, coming from Nigeria with Nigerian parentage and what have you, has gone to abroad and has gotten to this position. Instead of her to use it to improve the welfare and well-being of Nigeria, she's busy destroying the integrity and capacity of Nigeria. I think it's a very sad commentary.
Right. I mean, she can absolutely do her job without talking about Nigeria all the time. Well, that's what some people think. The Times newspaper, backlash after Hamas praises Starmer move. Labour members, families of hostages and campaigners of anti-Semitism are asking Prime Minister Keir Starmer to delay that recognition of Palestine until Hamas has released the remaining captives. Charles, the heat is now on Israel to move in a totally different direction. I mean, it started with France, with the recognition of Palestine, and then the UK has followed suit. A couple of other countries now lining up. Absolutely, the heat is definitely on Israel. There's a lot of pro-Palestinian sentiment spreading all over the world very rapidly. I mean, recently, a couple of days ago, in Australia, there was this very massive pro-Palestinian rally. But then, of course, unfortunately, Hamas is definitely not building on this pro-Palestinian sentiment. That's the most unfortunate thing. For instance, you know, when Starmer said that they would be recognizing the Palestinian state, Hamas came out to say that is one of the benefits of 7th of October, one of the fruits of the 7th of October. And that unfortunately shoots them in the foot, because it now reminds the people who are sympathizing with them that that act of terrorism, you know, abducting Israeli citizens, was exactly what it was. So Starmer is now on the back foot in the British Parliament when his own politicians are telling him to revoke that promise, because unfortunately Hamas is not making very good use of the window of opportunity they've been given. But then the truth of the matter is that the situation in Gaza is dire. Forget about Hamas, forget about the organization, think about the suffering Palestinians. And I think Hamas on their own part, if they were sympathetic with their own people, release these Israeli hostages and let Israel back off. All right, definitely. That's Israel's stance, that they need the hostages released. But, you know, there's also talk that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging this war because he doesn't want to leave office. You know, there are allegations of corruption against him. There is an inquiry, and you know, a lot going on politically, seems to be helping him domestically within Israel. You know, that's just an explanation of what is going on with him personally and his seat. Daily Mail, finally, how Andrew used trade envoy role to acquire his secret millions. The most devastating royal biography ever. And if we go back to the Times, the same photo of him with a caption, Prince Andrew drives in Windsor, as a book claims Jeffrey Epstein sold his secrets to foreign spies. So the royal scandal continues over again. Well, we'll have to call it a wrap. Dr. Ibrahim Modibo, media executive and analyst, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for driving today's newspaper review. And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.